absolutely thrilled. We're kind of neighbors, but people are coming over from all over the world. But let's talk about your session first of all, and a little bit about you. Share with us a little backstory.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. My name is Shara Hutchinson, as you mentioned, and I'm a mom. So I have a 5-year-old, a wife, and I'm a woman of purpose. And I am passionate about helping people to uncover their unique gifts, to utilize those gifts, and to navigate through change in a way that gets to the desired results. And
Yeah.
so, no surprise that my session then is about change. I actually spent almost 10 years working at a software startup that was high growth, growing 30% year over year. We acquired
Wow.
multiple companies, and that was a lot of change. And that's when I found out, like, I actually have a unique gift in making people feel like they are a part of the change, right? And so whatever business you run, whatever you do, whether it's ministry or an organization, there's going to be change that happens. And if you
Mm.
can make people feel like they're included, they actually will do a little extra work, right? And help you bring the vision to pass. And so my session is about leading change that sticks. I'll talk about why change is necessary. I'll talk about the resistance that happens, right? Because again, as you started off saying, people don't like change. Maybe babies, maybe not. But by and large, it's uncomfortable, but it's
Mm.
also necessary, and it is something that we can't stop from happening. And so we want to make sure that we change, and change produces better and greater results. And so there, with that comes resistance, but also opportunity. So I'm going to talk to leaders about how do you engage your teams for that vision? How do you make them feel like they're a part of it? And then
Mm.
what role does faith play in leading change, right? One of my favorite scriptures in Habakkuk talks about writing the vision and making it plain so that he who reads it can run, and that it's for an appointed time. And so as a leader or business owner, there's something that you have a vision for. And if you get your team involved and making them feel like they're included,
Yeah.
then when they're running towards something. And so being able to incorporate your faith and helping to recognize people's gifts and encouraging them to be who God made them to be, right? To help with the goal. And there's a quote that I like, and it says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others." Right. And
I
so
remember that.
you want to make sure that others want to go with you, not that they're made to go with you. So I'll cover all of those subtopics under my main topic,
Yeah.
and with the roll up of showing you how do you make that change stick and last, so that when you implement a new initiative or a new service offering or a new way of doing things, that months later they're still doing things a new way, and that you get the result you want.
That's so good. Wow. Well, listen, my mind's rolling here because it almost sounds like to me that you said you want the team to feel ownership
Yes.
of the vision. Like, in other words, I heard you say nobody wants change done to them,
Yes.
right? So I'm a parent of 3 teenagers, and I'll give my wife all the credit in the world. But you don't want a teenager does not want to feel like change is being done to them. And
Right.
I've heard that a good leader makes people think it's their idea. And we're not talking about manipulation, but we're really talking about influencing people. But at the end of the day, nobody can force anyone to do anything. Do you agree?
I agree, and the key word that you said is influence, and I love that, because when I define leadership, I always define it as influence.
Mm.
So if you can influence someone to do something, it means that they are a part of it, and people want to feel like change is done with them,
Mm.
not to them. And
That's good.
so if it's with them, then I'm a part of it, and we're all rowing the boat in the same direction.
Mm.
And I have a
That's so good.
5-year-old. He doesn't even want to, like, I have to say, like, I'm gonna put his clothes out because he wants to wear pajamas or whatever to school, and then make him feel as if, oh, you chose the outfit. But really I sat the 2 outfits out that were an option for him. And
Ooh,
as
that's
a leader, our job is to share the vision and share, maybe there are a couple of options, but the boundaries and the guidelines, right? So that when the choice is made and you've influenced them, they have ownership, but it's still within the vision that you have.
oh, I want to come to your session. want to come to your session. Listen, you and I share a bunch of things in common, by the way. I was looking at your page. You've done a TEDx. I've done a TEDx. You've written a book. I've written a book. What is your TEDx about?
So
Right.
I've actually have two TEDx talks. So one, that one that you have on
Love
the screen is about leading change that sticks and is about the very same topic that we're talking about. Like, how do you make your employees feel like they're included in the change? And my very first TEDx talk was actually about the journey to have my son. So when we talk about faith, it took my husband and I 8 years to have my son, and four round our son, not just mine, in case he hears the
Right.
recording, right? But
I get you.
8 years, 4 rounds of IVF, lots of prayer, right? Lots of faith. And he's our miracle. So I share that story in a TEDx talk. And even in my book, you have the book Barefoot in the Boardroom on the screen. At the end of the book, I actually share, even though it's a business book, I share my infertility story in there. And what I say is, in business, you may not want to birth a baby, right? But you want to birth something. And sometimes you have obstacles and opposition, and you may have to do something unconventional or out of the norm or change the way you do things to get the desired result. Because with my infertility journey, I had faith, right? But I had to add some works to that. And in business, the same thing, right? And I
Mm,
saw you put the acronym up there. I have an acronym that I use called CRASH. Like, when you lead change right, you can avoid a crash in your organization where your customers are satisfied, your revenue is growing, right? Your culture is thriving, you're not having as much turnover, and that you're getting the results that you want.
that is so good. So I'm going to go over to this Cedarville website, by the way, and I want to challenge people. Like, if you're watching this, do whatever you need to do right now. Stop what you're doing. Get a ticket. Cedarville.edu/impact. I don't know another place that's going to have such powerhouse people
Mhm.
together.
Yes.
There you are on the homepage. Boom.
Boom.
And
There it is.
there it is. There it is. And look, there's a timer countdown. Registration closes in, I mean, who knows if this is even live? This might even be less time by the time this thing goes live, but they got to sign up right away. But I love the fact that you're speaking. I love the fact that we have it right here, leading change that sticks. Here's your bio. Why did you say yes? Because I know, look, that you're busy. This is a Christian university conference. It's not like we can drop, the massive normally
Mhm.
speaker fees that you absolutely deserve. But like, why did you say yes to come to business leaders and pastors together in the same room? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm passionate about change, right? And
Mm,
one of the things that is necessary for the world to experience the love of God is for Christian and kingdom business owners and pastors and leaders to raise up disciples and teams, right, who help accomplish the vision that God gave them. And so I am excited about connecting with other Christian business leaders, other Christian leaders,
mm,
and really having an impact together. So I mentioned earlier the quote about, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go with others, right? So I'm looking for others that I can go with on this journey. And while, yes, you want your business to make income, more than income, I'm passionate about impact.
So the Impact Conference that
Yeah.
that that resonated.
See how I tied that name in there?
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. That's good. That's good. Well, this is great. And you know, your book. I'm a big fan of books. I'm a publisher myself. And so what are people going to get if they're like, hey, listen, I absolutely can't make it, whatever. There's a wedding that weekend and they want to get your book. What is your book about?
So my book, Barefoot in the Boardroom, it's called Every Leader's Guide to Navigating Change, and it takes you through the journey of how do you measure the impact of the change and why that's important, right? How do you develop the culture necessary where the change can actually be sustained? How do you ensure that your customers are satisfied as well as your employees? It gives you strategies on how do you measure the success of the change, and you
Mm,
can find the book anywhere books are sold, whether it's Barnes and Nobles, Target, um,
yeah.
Amazon, and anywhere the books are sold, you can find it. And I truly believe that it is a manual on how do you lead change and not just lead it, but measure that it's successful.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And look, they only got 7 more in stock, man. So you better grab one quick.
Grab it and grab a ticket to the conference too, right? Get
That
both.
is the truth. That
Who
is the
knows? By
truth.
the time this goes live, there might be 7 tickets left.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That is so good. Well, obviously you have a faith background. You have a mother, business, wife. I mean, you got a lot of hats, and maybe we kind of land the plane with this. You know, people might be saying, how do you do it all? And that is a good question. How can you be, engaged and impactful in all those different spheres? How do you do it personally? Let's just say that.
I would so I'll give an abstract answer, then I'll give a practical answer.
Yeah.
I'll say number one, I believe that God has given me
Mm.
the grace to do it. And so everything that I commit to doing, I believe that it's something that God wants me to do. And if you believe that God has given you the grace to do something and you're passionate about it, it's those things that give you energy, right? There's something
Mm.
activities that you do where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do that. But there are other activities where you're like, I get to do that. And so everything that
Yeah.
I do, I feel like I get the privilege to do it and it fuels me. And
Wow.
then on a practical level, it really takes planning. So I mentioned the scripture in Habakkuk earlier about writing the vision and make it plain. So
Mm.
I write out, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to see in a year, in 5 years, right? And then I say, like, what do I have to do to get there? And I let that guide me, and I say no to the things that do not move me closer, and yes to the activities and commitments that do. And it
Oh,
makes it a lot easier. And I heard someone say a while back that whenever you say yes to something, you are inadvertently saying no to something
that's
else.
right.
And I'm like, what do I really want to say no to? I don't want to say no to my family and work all day, right? I don't want to say yes to commitments that don't move me closer to the things that God put in my heart. And so
Mm.
being very intentional about what I commit my time to, and if I commit, keeping my commitment and saying yes. And there are
Mhm.
times where I've had to keep a commitment that I was too tired to do and didn't want to do. And it taught me a lesson, like, because I want to be a person of integrity and character. And if I say
Right.
I'm going to do something, I want to do it. And that includes to myself, right? So if I tell myself that I want to do
Oh, I
something,
love that.
I want to do that. And I'll land the plane with just going back to my son and the journey that I had to have him,
Mm.
and 8 years believing for something and everything around you saying no, it's not going to happen, but your heart saying yes. And I remember we had a second trimester loss, and I thought to myself, but
Mm.
I still want to be a mom. So what do you do when you want something but it seems like it's not going to happen? And so because I'm a visionary person, I'm always looking to the future to guide me and not my feelings today, right? I'm like, I'm hurt, I'm crushed, but I want to be a mom. And so I zoomed out and I said, okay, Shara, if you get to be 80 years old
Mm.
and you didn't give everything you had
Mm.
to try to become a mom, would you regret it? And I said,
Wow.
yes. And because I said yes, I would regret it, that gave me the impotence to try one more time. And despite feeling discouraged, despite feeling torn down, despite feeling as if it was never going to happen, I stepped outside of my feelings, right? Like how I felt at that moment, and said, what do I want the most? Right. And feelings are fleeting. We're talking about change. Well,
Mm.
there's personal change that happens when you are navigating organizational change, or
Right.
changes to a goal or a dream or whatever it is. And I said, if I'm going to feel bad about this tomorrow, I can get through this bad feeling today. Right. And so I tried one more time. And that was when I had my son. And so when you ask me, how do I do all this? I look out into the future and I say,
Mm.
what am I going to want my 80-year-old self to think about what I
That's
did?
great.
Right.
That's so
And
good.
so that guides whatever I do, because
Yeah.
you begin with the end in mind.
You
Right.
don't wanna live a life of regret. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Folks, cedarville.edu/impact. Shara, it was fantastic to be with you today. We know about your book, Barefoot in the Boardroom, your website, and, we're gonna have some great impact together in just a few days.
Yes. I'm excited. Looking forward to meeting you there.